Dunk the Vote is going to be knocking on your door. We're going to be phone banking because this is the most important election in your life. September 1st, and of course, general elections November 3rd. I'm telling you, we got to go out and vote. And if you have your mail-in vote ballot application, make sure you mail it off, because there are three ways you can vote. One, you can do the mail-in ballot, the voting ballot. It's come in the mail. You should have received it. And if not, you can go to your local town hall and get a application and fill it out immediately. Or you could do the absentee ballot. That's one way, mail-in voting. The second way is early voting. We fought in Dunk the Vote in the year 2000, along with Mass Vote and others, to make sure we get early voting, because it could be discriminatory. Folks could be, you can have a single mom who can't get away from their jobs. You can, folks don't even understand that law. That you can, in Massachusetts and other parts of the country, take an hour from your job and go vote. And your boss cannot tell you no. But a lot of people don't know that. And we want, as President Obama said yesterday, we should make election day, the Voting Rights Act, named after John Lewis, and we should have a voting day off, a national holiday. So, but anyway, we're not there yet. Maybe we can get there with all the protesting. But remember, on September 1st is the election. Dunk the Vote is gearing up. We're going to be getting folks out to vote. We're going to be safe, social distance. We're going to be washing our hands, wearing our masks, and staying 6 feet, I would say even 8 feet, 8 feet apart, so that we can live. Somebody say live. You live. So I have my friend, my good friend, brother and friend, Emmett G. Price, who is a professor. He's an ordained preacher and minister of the gospel. He has his tenure in Northeastern. This brother has done so much. I am so elated and glad that my brother's here to talk with us about black music and the music about live. Let's talk about live first. Let's talk about live. Yeah, and I want you to also tell me about Rev Up, because you have a podcast. But it's just so much we discuss. We have an hour. So this is good to be amongst you, man. I'm glad to be here.
Listen, man, first of all, thanks for the invitation.
Oh, yeah, man.
Certain people call, you have to respond.
Okay.
Because you blow them up, right? so glad for the invitation, my brother. And, we have been connected, for a number of years, probably close to my time here in Boston. I came here in 2001 to serve at Northeastern University, where I was for 15 years as a
and we go to the same barber.
And to the same barber.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you go there now.
Well, ain't nobody.
No, me neither. I cut my own hair. That probably the lineup is kind of crooked, but it's better than what I had. I had a little afro when Prince was talking about his afro.
We give Brother B some shout outs.
That's right. Bernard.
Shout out.
Right at Darcy's Barbershop. That's right.
That's right. But, brother, when you said live and you talk about the vote, I'm reminded in the Bible, John 10:10, the evil one comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Right. This is Jesus speaking. But I came that you might have life and life more abundant.
That's right.
And I think that we as black folks, and I'll be very clear, we as black folks across the African diaspora, from the continent all the way through the Caribbean and South and Central America into the United States of America, we as black folks need to learn how to live. L-I-V-E.
And not die.
And not die.
Not die.
You know what I mean? Come on, we're going to bring the spirit up in here today, my brother.
Right. We in the black church.
We in the black church.
In a black-owned radio station.
Now, see, this is important. Ownership is important.
Yeah.
And to think about the fact that in this season, in 2020, we're talking about expansion.
Right.
See, we're moving beyond survival to thriving. Right. And the way to do it is to take ownership, not only on just entrepreneurially of businesses, but of our narrative.
Right.
We have to tell our own stories. And this is the part that I've been trying to do as a scholar. This is what I've been trying to do as a professor, to try to say to folks that, other people can study us, and that's cool and everything. And thank you very much. But we can also study ourselves.
That's right.
And tell the stories, because when we tell our own stories, that's when mama and them show up.
That's
right. See, mama and them don't show up in the books.
That's right.
When we tell the story, we can talk about Big Mama.
Yeah, and actually, it's interesting. Prince was talking about his mom.
Yeah.
And how he wrote the business plan for his mom. And I talk about my mom. We always talk about black mama, and our mothers are so key. And,
and you had my dear brother, Prince, man, just a brilliant brother on the music business side, man. And when he started talking about who he has worked with and what he's done and who he's inspired and who he's mentored. Man, we have so much here in Boston that we need to do exactly what we're doing here at Boston Praise Radio and TV. We need to grow. We need to expand. And we need to pull all this talent together and do what God is calling us to do in this season, which is to live, L-I-V-E.
Yeah, in the year 2020, as Dr. DeVoe said, we have a clear vision.
Yes,
we can see clearly now, right? And it's time for us to act. So let's talk about hip hop.
Yeah.
Because I watched you speak. This was when I had first met you. I believe you were speaking at Northeastern at another event, even though you was a professor there. But you were speaking for another event. I believe it was the Boston Society Athletic.
Oh, the Center for Sports and Society.
There you go. And you was talking about hip hop.
Yeah.
And how it relates to the church. I don't know if that was speech. I've heard so many different speeches from. Let's talk about hip hop. Let's just throw something together. We were talking about hip hop earlier, and I was asking a question for a friend by the name of Ron Bell about his 20-year-old son to Prince. With the lyrics and so forth. And he wants to be a rapper. He wants to be an artist. And I remember when he was younger, he watched. Drumline, and he memorized the whole. I mean, he was like 6-7 years old. He memorized the whole, the words to Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon, and I was like, he's actually saying this. I said he's going to be an actor or whatever. But anyway, so it's hip hop.
Well, I mean, check this out, man. I'm from Los Angeles,
right?
So I'm from the streets of Los Angeles, man. So mad love back home, but I'm here in Boston now, so I'm showing mad love to Boston.
Right now.
But at being a kid of the hip hop generation, right? So I remember we had this radio station there, KDAY, right, 1580 KDA on the AM station, on the AM dial, and that's where all the hip hop hit. Right, on Friday night they would play a whole album, and those of us who were young kids, man, we would tune up. We would put our little cassette deck next to the radio if you didn't have a two thing, and we would try to record that so that we could record that album. So say LL Cool J came out with Radio back then,
right?
And we would take the whole weekend to memorize those lyrics, because when you got to school on Monday, if you couldn't get to track 3, you was a sucker,
right?
You know what I mean? You had to go to the back of the line,
right?
So hip hop has been kind of the lingua franca for us as black people because it was created by us, right? It was not created for monetization back then. It was created for us to be able to speak truth to power, and also to speak to one another in the language that we could understand.
Right.
So when my man said, "Don't push me, cause I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head," and then we get the nervous laughter. Sometimes I wonder how I keep from going under. Right. This is a brother who's dealing with depression and dealing with feeling as if he's the least of these, and no one's able to listen to him. No one's able to hear him. But when he put that on that lyric, everybody around understood what was going on.
Wow.
Right? Roaches everywhere, broken glass. I mean, he's talking about his hood, right?
Right.
And so all of us started talking about our hoods.
Right.
So when my brothers NWA came out, talking about F the police, right? We were like, finally somebody saying something, right? Because the police was coming through our neighborhoods, right, with tanks, with battering rams, the whole SWAT thing. And they made movies and TV shows about
it. Now, this is in Oakland,
in Los Angeles, down in Southern Cal.
Okay.
The SWAT came out of LAPD, which was the most corrupt police department in the nation.
Rodney King verdict.
Rodney King verdict, right? Daryl Gates was the chief. Now, why do I know that? Is that history? Right? Because I was a young man during the time. We understood what what the stuff was. So what we see now is a continuation of that has gone national.
Right.
Which is why our young people have said enough is enough. Even in the midst of a global pandemic, we are putting our bodies on the line because we need justice.
That's right.
And we need equality, and we need to be included as citizens of this great nation that our ancestors died for, right? And they died to vote, so we all need to get out and vote. September 1 and November 3rd. I was listening to my brother.
There you go.
Three different ways to vote. I was listening to you.
Right.
So hip hop is the lingua franca. It's the voice of the street. It's not the voice of the classroom. It's not the voice of the C-suite. It's the voice of the young people who feel ostracized, who felt disenfranchised, and who felt left behind. And what happens is by 84, 85, 86, corporations understand that, wow, if the suburban white kids can get access to this,
Right.
we can make a lot of money.
Interesting.
So now we had a whole group down in Washington, D.C. who put that sticker. Remember that sticker that went on the hip-hop albums and CDs?
Yeah.
Right, that sticker was like, to some people, adults, it said, make sure your children don't buy this.
Right.
But for young people, what did it mean? That's the one I want to buy.
That's the one yeah.
Right.
That's like telling a child no, and then they're like, oh, I'm going to do this anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean, you tell the children you don't want them to have candy,
right?
But you walk in the grocery store, what's in front of the cash register?
Right.
All the candy,
right?
So that while you trying to figure out what you gonna buy, they grab it,
right?
You know what I mean?
Right.
So hip hop. What I did, I'm glad you reminded me of this. I had a project going on with the Center of Sport and Society at Northeastern called Rhythm and Flow.
Okay.
And I was making the connection about the hip hop, the style of it, and the flow of it, and athletics. Mm-hmm. Because in '84, you got Jordan coming out. You have the Olympics, the Summer Olympics in the United States. Matter of fact, in Los Angeles. And you have the whole swag of sports start to change. It was around '84 when the shorts went from what we call them booty shorts to the long ones where they come down to your knees, which you see now. Right. You had the jerseys, which were like tank tops, to now you could air out a little bit. Right,
exactly.
So hip hop had a dynamic influence on American culture. But it was the corporations that took a lot of the energy around that and never gave credit to the young people. Mm. When we think about, Congressman John Lewis yesterday, who was a young man during the civil rights movement, the movement in this nation by black folks has always been led by the young people. Right. Always been led by the young people. Mm-hmm. And hip hop, during the 80s was part of our movement. Part of the voting stuff in the 80s, that's the hip hop folks, even into the 90s and even now. So I think there's power in hip hop. And the challenge with the church is that the church was afraid of the young people. And so we kind of ostracized and became a part of that. The challenge of this is that the church has to understand that these are our babies. Right. So yes, they may use some bad language, and yes, they may be misogynistic. And that's where the church needs to stand up and say, come here. I see what you're doing. Mm-hmm. It's very creative. Mm-hmm. Let me show you a different way of how to do it. Mm. And matter of fact, let me show you who your MCs looked up to when they started to flow. Right. And not just the Gil Scott-Herons and whatnot, but you can go to jazz and look at Dizzy Gillespie and, all kinds of folks who were kind of flowing, musically in between their songs. Some of the DJs across the nation, back in the day, to see that this is an art form that we created. Right. Not just the rhythmic speaking, not just the dancing, not just the graffiti, which I actually, as an artist, I love, right? Just don't mark up my house. Right. right. So yeah, let's transition into the black church and the gospel and the music. I was watching the homegoing service of John Lewis and Jennifer Holiday tore it up. She don't even look the same. I don't know. I didn't even know that was her. Right? Me neither. Truth be told. Is that because of the Aretha Franklin movie she's putting up? She looked different. I didn't even know that was her. But girlfriend tore it up twice. At least I heard it twice. The gospel artists, and that has kept us over the years. Yeah. And what is your experience? I mean, you're a musician. Yeah. You can sing. You can. And I want to talk about that, but also I want to talk about that orchestra. Yeah. I seen you. I said, brother. Oh yeah, man! Don't sleep on your brother now. No, you do that. Multifaceted. I said this brother is leading the orchestra. It was digital. I mean, on virtual. Boston Landmarks Orchestra, man. Okay, we're gonna talk about that too. Sleep on your brother now. I said okay. Anyway, so let's talk about the gospel and the gospel artists and your experience. Yeah. So going to the funeral yesterday, which was well done. Mm-hmm. President Barack Obama just made all of us cry because we miss him so much. Right. And even those who have been critical of him during his time and tenure, we still miss him. Right. Right. I mean, to have the only thing you can put on him was that he wore a tan suit. Right. Right. He bad. And that he may have went and played a little bit of golf compared to what we're looking at now. Right. If that's all you got on my man. Right. Come on now. So John Lewis though came out of Troy, Alabama, which is Pike County. My mother grew up in Allen, Alabama, which is in Clark County, about 2.5 hours away. And there, being in the country, in the Black Belt of Alabama, in the woods, they had churches there where, you'd have an itinerant preacher come through maybe once a month.
Right.
But the church kept going on. And this is what I'm saying. The black church has always been a space where we have been safe and kept each other safe.
Right.
Where we could tell our own story, where we can love on each other without having to get permission from anybody else.
Amen.
It's been a place where we have seen not only that the prayers of the righteous availeth much, but that the hopes and dreams of the elders whose shoulders we stand on manifest in what the young people do. Right. Even those who leave home and go get their schooling on and go do something, they always come home for the big meeting.
Right.
Big meetings, right? Once a year when everybody come home,
That's
right?
right.
To see. And so the black church has always been our lifeline. It's been the only institution consistently in this nation that black folks have owned and had ownership stakes in.
Right.
It's been a place where you may be a janitor on your day job, but you are the deacon when you come, on Sunday.
That's right.
And everybody respects you as such.
Right.
And so we have a tradition. And yes, no tradition is perfect. We've had some issues. We've ostracized some people. We have hurt people. We have disenfranchised people within ourselves. And we got to work that out. But we need to work that out in our own space.
Come on now.
Those things don't need to be public.
Right.
Those things need to be where the leaders of the neighborhood and the community come together and bring people in, and we work that out. But the sound of the black church, the moaning and the groaning and the wailing, it sounds like it starts off sad, but it always ends up happy.
Already.
It sounds like it sounds mourningful, but joy cometh in the morning.
In the morning.
And we know how to transition that and flow. We know how to work our stuff out in real time.
Right.
That's why folks are fighting to get to the church house.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody, Pastor, when y'all opening back up.
Right.
I got to get back. Right. I got to get back into the space that's safe for me, where I know that the Lord always shows up.
Right.
Right. And so the sound of the black church is one of hope, of one of inspiration, one of encouragement, one of empowerment, and one that says you may be looked down upon for whatever reason, wherever you're from, but when the Holy Spirit comes in your life, when the Holy Ghost, I forgot where I was. When the Holy Ghost comes, I thought I was at the seminary. When the Holy Ghost come in here and shake this thing up,
right,
you're going to feel the presence of the Lord.
Right.
And that's what we can't forget.
That's right.
That's what we can't forget.
Yeah. So transitioning.
Yeah.
We're going to hit the orchestra.
Well, you're a transitional brother.
Yeah, because you guys, y'all are so impressive. Between you and Prince, I was like, these brothers are awesome. Orchestra.
Yeah.
The digital, virtual, whatever. I mean, I just see my brother up there leading the orchestra. Yeah. And then I'm going to transition to jazz.
Yeah. So most folks, I don't know if people know this about me. I'm Los Angeles, man. I went to college. I was a math major in college.
Okay.
And then I transitioned to math and music. So my
M&M.
put them together.
Right.
So I'm a musician, man, and piano is my main instrument, but I play pipe organ, clarinet, saxophone, and then later in life play bass, little electric bass. But I learned how to conduct, in front of orchestras. And on what you saw, I wasn't necessarily conducting, I was just emceeing, but I am an advisor of the Boston Landmark Orchestra, which is probably one of the phenomenal orchestras in the city of Boston that is doing so much to help folks know that there are phenomenal black composers who write classical and concert music.
Right.
And so what you saw, we had 4 composers that night. 3 of them were black, and 2 of them are still living. So in the contemporary music, man. So I love classical concert music. I still practice my piano every day. On my piano right now, I'm practicing, some of the Bach inventions, Johann Sebastian Bach, right? Some of the inventions. So I'm working through
What was that again?
You know what I mean?
Wait a second. What does that mean? Because see, I'm not one to sit here to listen and like, what do you mean by that? I remember when I was in the governor's office, right, the cabinet meeting, he was talking about, they were using all these acronyms, MCA, and all these, and I was like, what does that mean? And folks were like, wow, Ron, I'm glad you asked that. I said, I thought y'all knew. I was just faking it.
Man,
don't get me started on that. Anyway.
Just know I didn't call you anything bad.
Okay, all right. So, jazz.
Yeah. Yeah, so part of my responsibility when I was at Northeastern, man, I had one of the largest classes at the university. I taught a history of jazz class. We had, I think, when I got it up to maybe 725 students in Blackman Auditorium.
Wow.
And taught a jazz history class. Had the students in there, and then for my time there, I was also co-producer of the annual John Coltrane Memorial Concert. John Coltrane, one of my just inspirations, man, just phenomenal musician who was extremely spiritual, who knew the Lord in different ways and expressed it through his music. I think jazz is one of our phenomenal legacies that we've created, and most people don't realize that jazz was all about speaking truth to power. Jazz was resistance music, and that's one of the things about black music. People always say, how come we don't sing blues no more? How come we don't sing spirituals no more, except for Black History Month? How come we don't do, this and that? Well, the reason is...
Let the we shall overcome. Don't get me started with that. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, you're going to get both.
I had a trauma trigger. My neck is hurt.
You're going to get both. Okay. I'm going to turn the camera around, man, if you start with that one. Okay. But, the thing is that the music for us is functional.
Right.
We sing to help us in the moment, in the time that we're in, and then once we get through that, we kind of toss it over our shoulder. Music has never been so much so about repertoire and canon for us, right? It's been always about how can I sing myself to a place where I believe God desires for me to be right now, and when I get there, I need a new song for that new space. Right. It's like prayer. Right. You don't lean today on yesterday's prayer.
Right.
If God wakes you up today, you better pray a new prayer for today.
That's right.
Right? Because
be thankful.
And be thankful
for life.
Live. So black music has always been about live.
Right.
Matter of fact, Sister Beyonce dropped something today, I think, on Disney Plus, talking about what it means to be black. We can talk about Beyonce all we want to, just don't say nothing bad in front of me.
Right.
But the point that I'm making is, here's a sister who's maturing in front of our eyes,
right, and
is doing so much stuff to help our culture to be realized in real time, and to use her platform to talk about Breonna Taylor, to use her platform to talk about some of the things, even to the demise of losing some of her white audience. That's what happens in black music. Right. We about us. Stevie Wonder almost lost his career for about 10 years when he was with Miss Coretta Scott King trying to get the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King national holiday that we have.
Right.
Yeah, he was out there, on Congress testifying, and many of his white fans were like, no, we're not doing this. We're not political. We like you to just sing. Right. Just like we like the athletes to just play. Keep your mouth shut.
And dance.
Yeah. Yeah. Shucking, So Stevie Wonder is here and saying, no, we need to lift up the legacy of this dear brother who gave his very life so that we might live. Right. And so here we are with Dr. King National Holiday, and Stevie Wonder's been able to recreate. But the point that I'm saying is that many of our black artists, not all of them, have been willing to put their lives on the line for us.
Yes.
For us.
Yes. Look at the Godfather of Soul, James Brown. Say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud. And I'm so glad that folks are finally using the word black. And they've always been black.
We got to.
I mean, it's like the people of color, the brown, the minority.
Listen, man, on that minority
I need
riff,
the Tylenol.
Hold on, that minority riff. Let me help all of us to never say that word again, because globally we are the majority.
Come on, can you take us to school on that one?
Black folks, and if you want to do it this way, people of color, globally are the majority.
Okay.
And in the United States of America, as we hit 2022, the year that everybody was afraid of, right? People of color, if you want to do that, including black folks, are the majority. Wow. That's why you have all this hubbubaloo down in D.C. That's why you have all this foolishness going on in the last 4 years, or 3.5 years, however you want to count it, because folks who have perceived themselves as the majority no longer statistically are the majority, and in the depths of their cerebral consciousness, they're saying, well, hell, if we did this to them when we were the majority, what they gonna do to us?
That's what they're afraid
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's the fear.
Yeah. And we are the most forgiving.
Yo, man.
The most forgiving. We had Dr. Wood on here. Dr. Virgil was marching Dr. King.
Yeah,
we had him on last week. Yeah,
man.
he went like this. He said that it was so funny. It wasn't funny because he felt the spirit, right? And he was like, we talked about reparations.
Yeah.
And he said, reparations is not enough. That's just a down payment. We need, what did he say? Repairment.
Yeah.
We need to start out with $23 trillion.
Yeah.
And the universities can start a fund like Harvard University
Yeah.
with the endowment.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like, whoa. And it was like being in a movie. I'm going to be honest with you, that interview, listening to him. But I just want folks to understand what black folks have been through.
Yeah.
We could never pay. There's no limit. There's no price. Price.
No, hey, look at you, man. See?
I don't want to live. Live. No price. Anyway,
listen, man. So on this reparations thing, reparation is just a direction that we need to head in. See, when the framers of this Constitution that we have, they lacked courage in dealing with the slave issue. And so what they did was they framed the Constitution and started with these three words, we the people, which is an aspiration. Essentially, that was the baton to say to the next folks who come to the table after they leave, don't forget, we're going to put this first. We the people is the aspiration. We don't have the courage to deal with it because we got our hands in somebody else's pockets right now.
Right.
So we can't touch it, but y'all got to deal with this stuff. But we the people, when you deal with a nation that becomes complicit and feels as if we've made it, we ain't made nothing.
Right.
Now, beautiful nation. I love this nation, man. I'm not talking treasonous. I love this nation, but we're a work in progress.
Right.
And the progress has been framed by the Constitution. The aspiration is we the people.
Right.
When we get there, we'll understand what reparations, what restoration, what repair, what reconciliation, all these RE words, right? We can list them down. We'll understand what they mean. But while people are afraid to give up what they think that they have accumulated, right? When mom and daddy put that laid aside and little trust funds and all this kind of stuff, look, they don't want to hear that because that means that they got to give up something.
Right.
And the way we think is that power is not given, is taken.
Right.
Right? And so the issue is people got to wake up, man.
Yeah, they do.
People got to wake up.
Yeah. Using we spoke about platforms.
Yeah.
Rev up.
All revved up, man.
Revved up.
Yeah.
It's a podcast.
It's a podcast, but the podcast comes off of me and my dear sister, Reverend Irene Monroe, being weekly contributors on WGBH for probably the last 8-9 years on Mondays.
Okay.
1 o'clock. And what we learned is that when we're on, with the exception of Callie Crossley and Brother Philip, forget Philip's last name, but Brother Philip on there's not too many black voices on WGBH.
Right.
Right? Okay, in public radio, by the way. Boston's NPR. So we're on Mondays, and all of a sudden, their ratings go up while we're on there.
Uh-oh.
Okay? And so we get into a conversation about a podcast. So Irene and I say, yeah, we'll do it. So we did 10 episodes last fall. We started July. We went from July, so summer and fall, July to December. And the ratings went up on the podcast. So we negotiated. We're in the middle of negotiating now. So next week at some point we're gonna make a little announcement. So y'all stay tuned.
Yeah, let us know.
But I'm following the lead of my dear big brother, Pastor Bruce Wall.
Oh yeah, that's the Godfather there.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, ownership.
So I've learned something too.
Right.
So the announcement is gonna be something about ownership too. So y'all stay put because Big Mama used to say, when you know better, you do better.
Right.
Right? And so as we know better, you don't revert back to how you used to do things. Right? And as we stand on the shoulders of those who come before us, as they rise, we rise too.
Right.
So in the spirit of what we doing here in this station here, which is, by the way, not just radio, TV. You know,
31 media outlets.
We better call it.
7 continents.
Say it.
We're all over the place.
Say it.
50 states.
Say it.
351 cities in town.
Say it.
22 neighbors in the city of Boston.
Now, see, that's what I'm talking
We're
about.
all over the place. You seen your face on social media.
Man, I got to talk to you offline about that.
Okay. Did I mess up?
My wife was like, what is going on?
I had people calling me, is Emmett coming on your show? I see him all over the place. Prince, I said,
if MC DJ Ron Bill got to call out next week, that's because brother Emmett Price got to him. All right.
y'all know it's on the air. Y'all heard what he said. So if you don't see me next week, right?
He'll be back.
Okay. Sorry, wifey. I'm sorry. So
It's all love.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. Listen, so again, you are a professor at Gordon-Conwell
Theological Seminary.
And you had talked about the seminary, and I mean, everything's interconnected.
Yeah.
Church,
Yeah.
the music,
Yeah.
the ministry,
Yeah.
the media.
Yeah.
How do you interconnect each one?
Let me tell you a funny story, man.
Yeah.
At least I think it's funny now. It wasn't funny then.
Okay. Okay.
So when I earned my PhD, University of Pittsburgh, man, I told the Lord I ain't never going back to school.
Right.
This reformed homeboy from L.A.
Right.
I shouldn't have been there in the first place, but the Lord was doing something.
Right.
And I ended up here at Boston teaching at Northeastern University. And then I had a phenomenal pastor, the late Reverend James E. Dove at Ebenezer Baptist Church, where I accepted my call to the ministry.
Okay.
And he kept saying, man, you got something on you, you got something on. I said, man, if you talk to me like that one more time, I'm leaving. Right? I'm still hard-headed. I'm still out of L.A.
Right.
PhD and all. And so Reverend Dove drove me to Gordon-Conwell's Boston campus. We was at the old South Huntington, the Martin Luther King Jr. house. Right? And he walks me through to the dean's office, and he says, this is Dr. Price. You know, he's with me right now. What are you teaching this summer? And I'm like, look, do I get a vote in this? And so he says, well, we're teaching this and this and this. Reverend Dove says, sign him up for OT survey. I'm paying for it, right? So in the culture, when somebody else is paying for it, you're going to show up, you're going to be on time, you're going to do your best. That's home training, right?
Exactly.
So now I'm like, Lord, I'm a musician. I ain't going to be one of these preachers. I ain't going to be one of these musicians turned preachers, you know? And then I end up accepting my call to the ministry.
Okay.
And then I'm out at Greater Framingham Community Church with Reverend Dr. J. Anthony Lloyd.
Yep.
And, you know, I'm sensing that God is calling me to do something different. And it's to plant a church. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, Lord, first of all, I already told the Lord I ain't going back to school. Then I told the Lord I wasn't going to be one of these musicians who turns into a preacher. Then I'm like, I ain't going to be one of these rogue pastors to leave, you know, an established church and start another church. Man, the Lord took all of those three things and choked me with all three of them.
No price.
Live.
And
what happens is I'm at Northeastern at the time, and one of the trustees of Northeastern was the Reverend Dr. Michael E. Haynes.
Right.
And so I'm working, I was a chair of the African American Studies Department at the time. And so I'm working on the Laurel Roxbury Oral History Project. And Dr. Haynes comes in there suave and just, you know, debonair. You know, he's kind of man, when he walks in the room, everybody rise. You know, you may not even know why you rise, but you know, he is here. Right. And so we start talking, and he shares some stuff with me. And little did I know, he was also a trustee at Gordon-Conwell Theological Seminary, where by now I'm in like year 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, trying to get my degree.
Right.
So behind the scenes, man, Dr. Haynes helps to orchestrate my transition from Northeastern to the seminary.
Wow.
And part of my negotiation at the seminary was to create what we now call the Institute for the Study of the Black Christian Experience, which I didn't even know until we did it, that Dr. Haynes had the idea and had already passed it by the Board of Trustees years before, and it didn't manifest.
Wow.
So I'm sitting at the house with Doc, and we're just talking, and he just smiling, just grimacing, man. And you know, to the day he died, man, he would always say how proud he was of the work that I and others were doing to manifest the reality that seminary, although it started in Philadelphia, it started here in Boston. And it started with black folks.
Wow.
So no matter how much it is seen and perceived as a white evangelical space, the CUNY campus, Center for Urban Ministerial Education, Boston campus, started right here.
Wow.
And so part of my work is to remind all of us that not only is Christianity older and bigger than we allow it to be, but there is a black heritage in it. Because Augustine, Cyprian, Tertullian, and all those folks who are writing from, see, here's what we try to do, North Africa, as if North Africa's not in Africa. See what we try to do? We try to make North Africa Roman Africa.
Right, or South Africa.
So then when we would put pictures of Italian gentlemen on there, we can make it look, no, these brothers are writing from Africa. Right? The oldest legacy of Christianity, even to today, is in Africa. Right? So we don't need to be asking the question, is Christianity the white man's religion? Before the missionaries came.
Get that man up. We didn't got the Godfather woke up over there.
Yeah.
We're gonna get him on the microphone too. I want him to get in here too. Go ahead.
Yeah, because the Africa shows up in the Old Testament. Africa shows up in the New Testament. Jesus is in Africa as a refugee. I'm sorry, was I supposed to say that word? He was in the as a refugee, right? You know, and then you have, you know, Philip, you know, who ministers to the Ethiopian eunuch on his way back to Ethiopia to spread the gospel. You know, you got Mark who's coming down. We know this. We just don't teach it.
We don't teach
So that's why I'm so glad I'm there to teach it.
Yeah.
So that it's not just a few people who are holding on to the information. We need to give it away like we do in Sunday school.
That's right.
This stuff needs to be curriculum in Sunday school so little black young people don't have to ask the question, is Christianity the white man's religion? It never was.
Seen out of the eyes of black people, Clear Vision 2020. 617-282-0685. We're going to open up the lines to hear. We're hearing from Dr. Emmett G. Price III. I'm telling you, this has been an exciting morning. We had Prince Charles Alexander here talking about the music industry. We have my man Emmett Price here. Call in. You have a question about the industry. If you want to be a hip hop artist, you want to be a jazz singer, or you are a jazz singer, you want some nuggets or some tips, call on in and get some advice. Let's go back to, you had mentioned something about the diaspora and the, you know, and the theme of the interconnection of the different groups, the hip hop, the church, and expound more about
one of the projects we're working on through the Institute is retelling the story of the black church in Boston. And then we'll spread out from Boston to New England and then spread out from there. Because originally, because we were not the tellers of our own narrative, our narrative got clouded by the lenses and the limited lenses by those who did tell the story. Right. So the story is still told in black and white TV, although we've been in megapixels, you know, for a long time now. Right. And when you tell the story in black and white TV, you don't get the nuance of blackness. You don't get the Haitian brothers and sisters who have been here for a long time. You don't get the Nigerian brothers and sisters who have been here for a long time, planting churches in their homes and doing all kind of phenomenal work in the neighborhoods. All you get is quote unquote African American. But then when you do the African American thing, you don't realize that many of us got Caribbean ancestry in there, right? You frame it in a lens where you limit the potential of our full maximum story. Right. So we got to learn how to tell our own story. And talk about the resilience of our churches, and talk about, you know, how these churches were the civil rights movement. That's like not the people in the church, but the churches, where these churches are, the addresses of them was protest in its very self when you look at the neighborhoods where the churches sit, right? So when you look at the legacy of, you know, what is now called the African American Museum of, history up on Joy Street in quote unquote Beacon Hill, right? We got to tell the history of what Beacon Hill actually was the
ghetto.
You see what I mean?
I went from Mission Hill to Beacon Hill, so I understand the history. When I was a child, I was a teenager, 16. I worked for a group called the Architectural, I can't even remember the name of the group, but we were digging up artifacts in Beacon Hill. Youth Conservation Corps. That's what it was. Youth Conservation Corps. And I was like, they kept telling us black people used to live here, and this was the ghetto. And I was like, really? Beacon Hill, who would ever thought, right? And, when you go to the African American History Library over there, the museum on Joy Street, you start to really feel your blackness. And one of the reasons I went to school, the first black college in America, Cheney State.
Cheney State?
Yeah. Because I wanted to see black people. I seen black professors, black people all the time, coming from Boston, like being only black in my class, going through busing. Yep. They didn't even believe I was from Boston.
Yeah.
So it's so important that we really use this as an opportunity, even on this network, Boston Black News Television Network, to tell our story and the importance of the story. And hopefully we can build a partnership with Revved Up and where that can be a part of it. And man,
I'm here because I want to make it known that I support what's going on here, that the Institute for the Study of Black Christian Experience supports what is going on here.
God bless you, man.
And we want to make it, this is our space.
Right.
Under the leadership and guidance of the folks who, not only Pastor Bruce Wall and, Pastor Franklin Hobbs and, Pastor Karen Wall and so many other folks, man, who have given their blood, their sweat, and their tears, their time, their talent, their temple, their treasure, their trust, and have poured in here, not for their own. Right. Not for their own, but for all of us. Right. So for me, this is our we the people.
That's right.
Right here. And so we need to learn how to support that. We need to teach each other how to support that. And we need to show up when it's time to show up. We need to do when it's time to do. We need to be when it's time to be. And we need to have a sense of pride. Right. And not the haughty, bad pride, but the good pride that something good can and will and must come from us, and we don't need nobody's permission to do it.
Come on now. Now that's good trouble.
Good trouble.
That is real good trouble. Trouble. That's real good trouble. Yeah. That felt that in my bones.
You know what I mean? All up in,
all
in my spine, brother.
And we can't leave out our sister Renee. Renee's our station manager. And keeps us. She had fixed me up this morning. I had on the wrong color on the shirt. Had white on. Why am I wearing? Black men like me wearing a white shirt. It's on the TV.
Won't the sister always take care of you, though?
She looks up. She keeps us in check. And what's so exciting about this, Emmett, is that we're volunteering. Yeah. Folks looking, no, I know wrong and pay. Right? And we're volunteering. Our effort, you mentioned the time, our talent, and our treasure. We're giving money. We're going to do this. We're paying for this. We're not asking Brother JoJo or Sister Watermelon. We're asking our people from our community to give to this effort. If you're interested in giving, you go to www.bostonpraiseradiotv.co, or you can go to our Cash app, the Cash sign, BPRTV, and we're going to open up our lines, and we're going to be open up our line 617-282-0685, and we're caller.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Karen.
Hi, Pastor Karen.
Hey, Pastor Karen.
Hi. When I tell you I'm in my house, like doing the hallelujah dance, okay. I'm not lying.
All right. We got to make sure you're happy.
One of the things, so I've got a bunch of things to say. I'm going to try to make it concise.
Take your time.
One, just watching you guys, I love how black people get animated and get excited when we're telling stories that are meaningful to us. So little things that probably other folks outside of the culture might not notice, but the hand gestures, the rocking in the seat, the shifting positions. Oh, that is so uniquely us, and I just love it, and it has a universal meaning. We all know what's going on when we see those kind of body gestures and that kind of energy. So I just wanted to say it's been kind of, I've only been tuned in for about 15 minutes, so I've just enjoyed that. Probably if you guys were saying nothing and I was just watching the body movements, I'd be getting excited. That's one. Two, you were singing my song. One of my advanced degrees is in African American history, and I loved it for what it offered. but it didn't offer the whole story.
That's right.
And so I've often said, and I think this period that we're in right now is about creating, one of the things it's about, is about creating our own narrative and getting it out there. Bruce and I talk often about, can you imagine if history had been told truthfully, the kind of pride that would have been built into us from childhood.
Yes.
Instead of, well, according to schools, our history began with slavery, although that's certainly changing some. And I can remember just being so ashamed, in high school, hearing about the slave experience, until one day one of my mentors were like, what are you ashamed about? They're the ones that should be ashamed. I was like, oh, wait, yeah, right. That's a switch up. But that's not widely known. So I am just beyond myself this morning listening to you guys. And
thank you so much.
Thank you. So I've lost my train of thought, so I'm going to get off now.
No. Take your time.
No, I did. No, seriously, I did. Lost my train of thought. But I'm just so excited listening to this. And I am excited about the prospect of our history being told truthfully.
Amen.
And how transformative that is going to be for future generations.
Amen.
And I love the piece about our faith.
Yes.
Yes. Instead of having to, most of the time when we get, particularly millennials, you have to argue them down to even hear you out about the fact that this is not the white man's religion.
Right.
So to have that information widely disseminated and just have it just be part of the conversation like it's normal.
That's right.
Good.
You
get your train of thought back. Go ahead.
No, I think that might have been it. Who knows?
You can stay on the line if it comes back to you. Because I know you have something to say about our broadcasts. When we were on the Zoom call the other day, you was like 1, 2, 3, 3 for the marching orders. Is something along them lines? The marching order for all the broadcasters that are listening that's going to sow a generous seed. 1, 2, 3, or call 25 people. 1, 2, 3. Is that close? Is that? Why don't you stay on the line?
Yeah.
Why don't you stay on the line? Okay.
I don't want to block you guys. I mean, I'm sure other people will be calling in.
Okay.
I'm listening, and if I think of something else, I will call back. But just saying, I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you so
and I'm
much.
excited about it.
Thank
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
617-282-0685. We're here with Dr. Emmett Price III talking about the music industry, the African diaspora. You want to respond to what Pastor Karen had mentioned?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you're interested in supporting the Boston Black News Television Network, you can visit us at www.bostonpraiseradiotv.co, or our Cash App is Cash BPR TV. Please help us. We want everyone. No donations too small, no donations too big. This is all of everyone. Just give their time, their talent, and their treasure. We'll get to the promised land. We already have identified the space. We have met with a contractor. We are ready to move in the next couple of weeks, and we want you to be a part of history. Be on the right side of history. And in honor of John Lewis, the ownership, the mentorship, the entrepreneurship, the ownership, the Voting Rights Act passed. We need to take over. According to Genesis 1:26, we've been created in God's image to take dominion. Dominion means to rule over the fish of the sea and the fowls of the air and every creeping thing that creep here on earth. Dr. Emmett, thank you so much for being with us. We have a couple of minutes left. We're going to ask you to close us out with a couple of words, some nuggets to our listening audience, and take it away.
Well, I think on the note that you just talked about in Genesis 1, 26 and 27, the notion that God did create all of God's creation in God's image, and gave humans, right, humans, the dominion over the, as you said, the flying things, the creepy crawlies, and the swimming things, but never over each other.
That's right.
And so we don't allow people to have control over us. God has created you with authority,
Yes.
so that you can be who God has called you to be in all of your splendor and all of your glory, such that God gets the glory and it's for the good of the people.
Yes.
And so our challenge to one another is not to lose hope, to be inspired and be encouraged and be who God is calling you to be in this season. Every dream and vision that you have can be manifest, not only through prayer, but also through sharing that with one another who you have trust in, so that we can partner with one another and do what God is calling forth to do in this season. You have power.
Yes.
You have power. Don't ever let anyone tell you that you don't have power. And so I'm honored to be here with you, my
Thank
brother.
you, man.
Thank you for the time and thank you for the fellowship. And I'm looking forward to doing so much more.
Yeah, man.
With Boston Praise Radio and TV. Man,
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Thank you so much. And in the spirit of Frederick Douglass, the abolitionist and writer, he said, "We are one, our cause is one, and we must help each other if we are to succeed."
Don't